Rogers and Damon Benning.
Lowry left wing, another three, and it's good again. That's the third three already for Kyle Lowry.
What did I say? Somebody's got to give you some big lift offensively against a good offensive team. Kyle Lowry's been the answer early.
Down to Butler at the midcourt line. Timer at three. Butler on the right side has to put it up, does, around, and down! A dagger three by Butler to push the lead to 10 with a minute to go.
Here it is. DeYoung swings, and he hits a high fly ball. Deep center field. Back to the wall. It's a gunner. A home run for Paul DeYoung. 3-0 Cardinals in the sixth.
And a fly ball into center field. Castro going back to the wall, and it's gone! Outland with a grand slam home run. And the Dodgers played 4 more.
The pitch. Swinging a high fly ball. Deep left field. That's the way to win it right there. Deliver a 3-run homer. Danny Jansen with his second game winner of the season. An absolute no-doubter.
Fairbanks holds his hit in the 0-1. Swinging a high fly. Deep left field. Pete Alonso has won the game. It's a 3-run walk-off home run. 8-7 New York.
Hey, good morning. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. If you could have an uneventful morning, that's what it was here as we walked into our studios here at H&H Chevrolet.
Quiet.
At Hail Varsity Club. Hey, how about Paul DeYoung smashing a home run? Like, do you remember when everybody was all out on Paul DeYoung?
Yeah.
Everybody. The longest time. I mean,
baseball's hard.
He's up, he's down. He's up, he's down.
Everybody.
You know what I've learned?
Good morning, Trev.
You know what I've learned with Paul DeYoung?
What'd you learn, bud?
There are.
And I just want to thank you.
Well, not that.
Should I have said that? And I just want to thank you.
Yeah,
I don't think I can call him Matt though.
No, so I've learned that there are some situations where you need to keep your mouth shut, and Paul DeYoung is one of them. Because there are so many times that people just buy right back into DeYoung when he's back on his high, and I forever have been the person that just kept my mouth shut when he got sent to AAA.
Forever young.
Because I knew he was going to come back up. Not that he was going to produce like he is right now, but I knew he'd come back up or he'd get traded. And he's a friend of Ashley's family.
Oh, Mary Kate and Ashley.
Yeah, he grew up in Antioch, Illinois, although she hates that I enunciate that town.
Antioch?
It's Antioch.
I think it is Antioch.
Yeah, but I say Antioch because there's a T in there.
Do you say Champagne?
So, no. But speaking of accents, she was talking about shoes yesterday because I saw Kevin Suits at the baseball game.
That's nice.
And, I walked over and I said, Brooks on the feet, sunscreen on the body. I must be talking to Kevin Suits.
And he looked over and he's like, I know that little squirrely voice. he goes, hey, kid, how'd you get in here? Did you drive?
He goes, where's your parent?
Did I tell you the story one time about Zach Greinke when he was with the Chasers? I probably didn't. I'm like, how'd this dude get here? He had to have taken the bus. Mm-hmm. That was the babyface assassin.
Yeah, he may have the biggest baby face in all of sports.
I'm like,
all of sports.
There's no way this guy's the top prospect in the organization. He looks like he's 10 or 9. I didn't know how he got there.
And yet he pitches pretty well.
Yeah.
He's had a great career.
Are you tracking your Cardinals?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just want
little by little.
Just want to make sure.
I just don't want to get too ahead of myself right now
because you blinked and they're still in the cellar.
Right, we're still 6.5 back. Yeah. But I saw a tweet yesterday. I think it was
I saw a tweet.
A buddy of mine. While I look up this tweet, we were talking about the Brooks shoes that he was wearing, and I said, "Oh, Ash, you have Brooks shoes." So that's why when DB and I were guessing shoes, I was like, "Oh, that's probably."
You had Brooks on the brain.
Brooks on the brain, right? And she goes, well, it's either that or my ons. I go, on? You mean on? Are you making fun of my northern accent now? Like, northern accent?
You're from Illinois.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, you aren't even in Minnesota yet.
Well, it is.
Or Wisconsin yet.
You know what?
On. So I just, the whole time at the baseball game, oh, man. Do you see the shoes that guy has on? Like, oh, man. His pitching's on right now.
Were you were you driving yourself crazy
when she said on?
Yeah.
No, it just makes me laugh whenever I hear her say things that, if it is a northern thing, because obviously I'm not from that area, but even my dad doesn't talk like that.
Where's your dad from originally?
He's from Sterling, Illinois, which is probably 2 hours south of Antioch.
I think one of those two should probably take my kid to his tournament in June on the 10th in Chicago or 11th, because that's a longer drive than people think.
Tell you what, you will not convince Barry.
Barry's not a driver?
No, Barry's a driver. He just doesn't want to go back up to Illinois.
Fudge, man. I'm like dreading it. I leave at 6:30 a.m. Saturday.
And then you get there when?
No, for Des Moines. So it's not far.
Oh, yeah.
But I just don't want to even do that.
What's that, a 4-hour drive from here?
Nah, hour 40.
Only? To Des Moines?
Yeah.
Why did I think it was much further?
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm thinking Sioux City.
And I'm not happy. The schedule came out on Monday. And so I figured out we didn't play on Friday. But Zoe, it's just the kids. It's me, Micah, and Zoe. And for Zoe to go, like, I just don't want to risk her being gone 2 nights. So I'm like, get up early and just have fun and make a trek and then put her in the pool with me and, whatever. Or go Friday where I can chill and know that by midday Saturday, I'm going home. So it's like, fudge.
You're weighing both options right now. Like,
well,
there's benefit to this.
And then I looked at the rooms, and to grab one would have been another $210. So I get it.
I get it.
I was kind
with it only being an hour 40, I get it.
And I did ask Mike. I was like, hey, I know you play at 9:30. I'm not a big travel same day guy. Like, I'm just not. Right, unless it's night and you have a chance to rest. And I wouldn't have done that to any of the other kids. So I didn't want to, even though with that, he just wants to play. So he's probably the most easygoing. And he'd have been like, oh, it's fine, whatever. And he was like, no, it's fine. Like, whatever. So to be out of the house on time, because I'm only giving myself about 22 minutes margin of error, give or take a traffic or something that I don't foresee.
22 minutes, pretty exact.
Well, I've driven to the deal, so I know it's an hour and 47 minutes. I like him there a half an hour early.
Okay.
So if I leave at 6:30, it gives myself
that buffer
to 8:17. It's really 23 minutes because he needs to be there 20 minutes before he's supposed to be there.
Are you guys going?
So it's about a 23-minute buffer.
Okay.
To get him in by
8:40. I'm not much of a same day guy either, but
no, I don't like it.
But I also think about this too. What's there more benefit to? Is it waking up in a hotel room in a bed that's not yours
with the squishy pillows?
Yeah, at a good time. Like, is there considered a good time even at a 9:30 game? Like, what's he still getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning?
No.
Right? Versus getting up at 6:30, you sleep in your own bed. At least you get a good night's sleep.
And baseball players are used to it, but we should do some studies on, playing the end of a series, traveling that night, and then playing that day.
Because that happens to volleyball, Nebraska volleyball, about that exact thing.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I was for the first time. I typically don't let like sports dictate my mood. Shoot, I try not to let people dictate my mood for that matter. But yesterday was exceptionally hard. A lot of highs and lows, right? High school stuff, baseball, it's cool, right? And then you turn on the TV and both boys had practice. So I was kind of staggered in dinner and kept it warm for Micah because he had the latest practice. So I found myself watching an inordinate amount of television because he wasn't done until 9.
Okay.
If I had to hear one more horrible take on Ja Morant, I was going to lose my mind.
I mean,
and it put
days late too.
It put me in a bad because Drew, now, like I don't want to get on this soapbox, but it's pissing me off. Like I'm just like, listen, man, if I heard one more time that he didn't break the law, listen, I know full well this country is in love with guns, right? I'm afraid of guns, but I understand, right? Listen, people love their guns. People love guns.
And
right?
it's a part of the Constitution that you can have a gun.
And I heard the whole, well, you had people in, Congress with Christmas pictures and rifles and their kids and they're firing weapons and this. I'm like, listen, terrible analogy, because we're missing the point with John Morant. The point with John Morant is not that look what somebody else did. Because first of all, I hate that. Hey man, listen, you can't be late. Well, Tim gets to go home late, and guess what? You're not Tim. Okay, you're not little Timmy. Or it's funny. Try this sometime when you get married. Ask one of your married friends that doesn't have a lifestyle that you think would be conducive to being married, and you say to Ashley, "Fudge, why are you mad at me? Mark gets to do it."
Yeah, that won't go over well.
Let me know how that works out for you.
It's like golfing, right?
Go,
why does Ray get to golf, but I don't?
Go tell Bill what you got to used to do at Sioux City for the news, and he's gonna say, "Oh, that's great." It's not here.
Not what we do here,
right? Like, so the point is, you need to figure out why he can't listen, because that's the more disturbing thing. It's not that he has a conceal and carry. It's not that, for whatever the reason, he needs to show a gun off. That's not the issue. You relinquish certain things depending on who you work for, right? Like that's, and I can't stand the blank made me do it, or look what they did. No, man, you know me. I'm a big ownership guy, and so when people use other things, or we talk about his upbringing. And remember, this was driving me crazy, right? Oh man, where's his dad at? Where's his mom at? You know what? We always go to that, right? We do. And sometimes the whole nature versus nurture thing is cool, but at its core, for whatever the reason is, nature versus nurture. Maybe he has mental health issues. Maybe he has substance abuse problems. Maybe he has nothing and he's just defiant. Whatever it is, figure that out. Because you know what you can't do in the NBA is intentfully, recklessly, and willfully brandish firearms on social media. There's this thing called representation of your employer. And there are lots of clauses in collective bargaining agreements. And we're missing the point. Like, let's just figure out why you can't listen. Like, you just told me 2 months ago this wasn't going to happen again. Okay, so where are we at with this?
Right. And it's not even who you surround yourself with at this point, because
it's not.
The person in the car in that video,
hey man,
quickly moved that phone away to be like, oh no, you don't want to be showing that. Like,
yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, I'm promoting you having this and holding it up and stuff like that.
What is it about the impulses and lack of self-control?
And then it goes into,
I don't want to hear about what I don't want to hear about what other people are doing and on their job. Because if said lawmaker would have done that, if she turned around and did it again for Easter, right? Because I think it was Christmas cards. If she turns around and does it again on Easter, then you're probably gonna say, man, is she upset? Like, that's gonna raise questions, right? Whether she can do it or not in her own holiday photos. But a couple of times in a couple of months would be for Christmas to Easter, right? You'd probably think, oh man, this lady's obsessed. Like, does she have the ability to make good decisions when it comes to gun control? I don't know. Like, that's going to raise some questions, right? Now, there's no ramifications because it's not illegal and they set law and precedent, right?
Yeah.
It's not like that in the NBA. So why did we keep missing the point? And I listened to Charles with the passive aggressive shots at JJ Redick thinking he's championing a good cause. Acho and Joy Taylor and Shady McCoy.
Honestly, I just couldn't believe people were talking about this a day and a half late.
Well, so Silver was a little late, little late. 2 days ago, he made the statement.
Right.
Said the video was a little grainy, needs some time. So it's open-ended. That's why.
Fair point.
That's why. Because now we're getting into suspensions and how long it's going to be. And punishment can be punitive, right? I mean, you punish to deter future behavior. So figure that out.
So you're in the NFL. You
Yep.
bet on some games.
Yep.
You get suspended for the whole year.
Yep.
Your name's Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
But you're in the NBA and you're a double offender, and people are talking about how 16 games is probably a good number for you.
Yeah. Did you hear Keyshawn Johnson yesterday, the day before? See, his son had a weed smoking habit in Lincoln.
Okay.
Was removed from the football team. Right? Key Jr. would tell Dad, hey, man, it's legal here, here, and here. Listen, you can't do that at the University of Nebraska. You can't do that on that football team.
Mm-hmm.
Don't care where you can do it other places.
I mean,
so
could you do it at Colorado? It's legal in Colorado,
but you can't do it on the
you can't do it on the campus.
Right. Can't do it on that football team. Not in play. So I think the ability to have situational awareness is what we're lacking. And when we keep making it about other things than having situational awareness, well, he did it. Well, look what they did. Well, I can do it here. Listen, what are the rules? like why is that so hard?
And you know what? People get caught too if you try to do something somebody else did. I remember when I was in Kansas City and there was a long line to get into a bar. And my buddy decided to hop over the deck to get in. He goes 10 minutes before I do it, but I get caught. Well, he did it.
Yeah.
He was free.
Yeah, you remember my
he went unscathed.
Remember my rant on the second guy gets caught?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. So knowing that, own it.
So don't go pointing fingers and saying, well, this guy got to do it.
Yeah, it's like I'm consistent with that.
And
because I think the only way that you can avert those kinds of things is to take individual accountability. And you can't only play race when it's convenient. You can't only play, well, such and such did it when it behooves you, right? Because at some point you just got to ask yourself, not to go on Mike Tomlin, but the standard is the standard.
Right. And look, I'm sure John Morant's a very good person.
We don't know. I'm not even going to speculate.
In Facebook,
I don't
there
know.
was a Facebook post where like a basketball, I think, was taken from a little girl, and I think Ja made it right, and he was the one that reached out. So I know that there's a heart there.
Okay.
And, a good person in there.
How about critical thinking?
I also know that he's young, right?
Here we go.
I know that he's 23 years old. But even in our earlier conversation with Lance this week about, when your brain gets fully developed, 2 years at this point doesn't make a difference. This guy had to grow up a long time ago in order to be in the NBA and consistently be good in the NBA.
And you can't use the age argument both ways, right? That's why I said situationally, you can't use something when it behooves you. Because when we're talking about advancement and young people on their job, see, we don't want to bring up age. Hey, I know I'm young, right? I'm McGuire. Hey,
right
man.
there.
Right.
I'm right there.
Right.
You can be talented and young.
And you can be
dumb
mature
and young. You can be dumb and young.
So
yes.
It's I don't know. Is that the hill we want to die on, right? So
but you hit the nail on the head with listening. There's no what did I say the best attribute of a Nebraska football player was 2 days ago?
To be able to follow instruction.
Active listening.
Yeah.
You need to be able to do that in order to play.
Yeah.
But if you can't do that, you won't be playing.
Yeah. Did you hear bits and pieces of that phone conversation?
No.
Okay, because that was a lot of what we were talking about, right? And he said, now more than ever, I'm paying attention in this recruiting game to parents. Now more than ever, I'm paying attention to the people that have impact in their lives, because a lot of times that tells me, a lot of people told me X, Y, and Z. But guess what? How about we just coach and do our jobs? All in. Novel, right? Because we're not afforded that luxury.
Right.
It's like, well, such and such gets to do it. I'm like, listen, the more finite the skill set,
here we go again, relating to other things.
The more finite your skill set is, the more wiggle room you have. That should be one of
Mhm.
Murphy's laws,
Mhm.
right? Whoever Murphy was, I'm sure he was some philosopher.
Yeah. Some scientist.
Yeah, are you a philosopher?
You are.
Yes,
Dave Aranda is.
I think very deeply. Yeah, the art of war. Like, I don't know, man. And so I found myself overly
in a mood.
Yeah. So what am I on now? Yep, better own it. Like I'm overcompensating.
Right.
You know,
Well, we've been talking about owning things a lot this week.
Right? It's
So-
like so now I'm like overcompensating
Right.
for it. It's I don't know, man. I don't know. But by the way, how about the Mets with 2 3-run home runs in 2 innings? Is that pretty good?
Who's the new kid? Vientos?
That would be
Matt?
is it Lachey? Shane, who was in New Kids on the Block? That
New
was
kids on the block.
that
had
was
a
his
bunch.
that was
It's
favorite
Chinese
Shane's
food makes me
favorite
sick.
I don't
song.
have like the right answer for
No,
you.
no,
I
no,
just
you
know,
do. You
what
do.
call
You do. You were all in on those guys.
Mark Vientos.
You were all in on those guys. He made it 5-5, right?
Was it 5-5 or 3-3?
Well, it's 5-5.
I didn't give you a great answer there. I'm sorry.
No, it was 2-2. He made it 2-2.
Desmond?
No, Mark Vientos.
Do you know Desmond Tutu?
Desmond Bain? Desmond Tutu?
Archbishop.
Oh my God.
Archbishop
It's night and day.
Desmond Tutu. Hey, Shane. DOA. Desmond Tutu.
Those guys were jacked up to get back in the building.
Coach McGuire. Chill. By the way, your dad's team's going to be pretty good, I think. Glad they signed him early. Desmond Tutu. Ooh, he's now bald.
He's doing a really, really good job.
He is
My
still
dad's
alive.
team? Shane's dad's team?
Garrett McGuire's dad's team.
Oh.
I'm done with you.
You know, a lot of people laugh at the snacks, right? But you know, that's real.
And this show today is real too. Let's go to the phone, Shane. We'll talk to Brian because we missed him yesterday, and I want to make sure that we get to him before
That's
we get
tough on
sidetracked.
everybody.
Zip it.
Brian, good morning.
What's going on, fellas?
How you doing?
I'm after being listening to the radio show the last hour 15 minutes over the last few days at home.
Yeah, well, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Oh, sorry, B. I am so sorry.
I'm doing all right. Now, I'm gonna try to see if I get to a point where you was waiting on Lance to say something when he brought up John Morant. I understand the clause. It's a private institution. They got their own rules. You want to be part of it, you got to abide by it. All right? So if you want the money they get through their vehicle, you got to abide by their rules. All right? And from what I'm seeing, that clause they got in there is is to make sure they don't lose that great market of men that they got during the Michael Jordan era.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ones they lost when Allen Iverson had the whole league wearing braids.
Yeah, you
Okay.
you become a representative.
Yeah, but when I'm sitting here watching the news cycle yesterday where I see 12-year-olds shooting somebody that works at a Sonic, all right, with a gun, and teachers getting shot, I'm just kind of shocked that some of these rules we got here set up for the gun culture, or who we have showing as the face of the gun culture. Yeah, John Morant, get your stuff together, man. If you want the money, man, you're going to have to abide by the rules. The NBA right now seems they on the defensive. They had all these dogs out spitting out their mantra on the defensive yesterday, had Charles Barkley looking like a fool. There's so much more I want to say, but I know I'm about to go to commercial.
Hey, you can hold through
stick
the
around.
break. You can hold through the break.
Hold through the break.
We'll get you back.
Okay, I'll hold on.
All right, we'll be back with B. First time the NBA played defense.
Stop.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Shot clock at 3. Butler with Brogdon on him. It's a long 3. And good! Oh, Jimmy frickin' Butler puts it in. Woo!
He said frickin'. That's something
I did hear him say that on the broadcast, and I went, interesting choice of word for
Jimmy frickin'
you,
Butler.
Kevin Harlan, to use. Not used to you saying the alternative to a cuss word, but hey, you do you.
Old school, too short.
Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency.
Song called Cuss Words. Old. That's like
Butler
late 80s. Late 80s rap.
Yeah, not
That's
something I know.
That's why
I'd know.
That's why all the kids are bad.
Apostrophe.
Because I don't know if you know this, but in hip hop and urban music, we embrace the gun culture. different than what they do in Congress on Christmas cards. What? What?
I don't know. It seemed like a subtle jab.
Yeah. I which also makes me think of a song late 80s, early 90s by a guy named Paris. He had a song called The Devil Made Me Do It. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe the blame game is on the ultimate thief.
Well,
I came to steal, kill, and conquer.
It's easy to blame.
We like that.
It's easy to poke fingers. It's easy to be opinionated. Speaking
We got thoughts.
Speaking of thoughts, opinions, 888-638-4876. If you want to share yours on the show, we'll be talking to Kyle Peterson in the next segment. A little bit of college baseball. We'll follow that up and talk to Ravi Lula. And we'll discuss the NBA draft combine, how Trey, Call, Kaluma have been performing, plus some NBA talk with Ravi. BE Brian Edwards at 8:45.
You use cream cheese, butter the bagel.
Something like that.
Hey, Loma and Haney this weekend. I am excited.
I don't really
love it.
This is how you
I'm
bounce.
so excited.
I thought it was What Is
that
Love?
I just can't hide it. I have no idea. I have no idea what that is. What does that mean? What is love?
What is love? You know the song What is Love? And they're like bouncing their heads.
Baby, don't
It's like-
hurt
I think
me.
it's an SNL skit.
Night at the Roxbury. That
Yes.
was the Watabi. Is it Watabi? I almost
Oh,
said
it's
Watanabe,
wasabi.
but that's
Boy, they're using the cream
Haven't you
cheese
had
and
enough of
butter
this
the bagel.
week? With haven't you had enough?
No.
Okay, you got one more day, man.
Nope. Week's still going.
Everybody's working for the weekend.
Good one. That's a
Yeah.
good one. And we'll do the sports six pack as well at somewhere around 9 o'clock.
Did you apologize to Darcy?
We may do an hour of fun or something in
Just
that
a-
last
to-
segment.
Just a tribute.
Yeah, it's
Say,
just
hey, Darce.
yeah.
I apologize we didn't get to it yesterday.
Are we picking players?
I'll tell her today.
Yeah, I'd like to. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get the
At
list for
9:30.
DraftKings. Shane.
So this is what I'm thinking, and you guys say yes or no. What if we did sports six pack, then the PGA Championship draft, and then a little two for you at the end,
sounds like fun. How about a game?
like an hour of fun?
I would agree, Damon.
Who said that? Who is that, Liquid?
Play it again.
That's
Don't tell me.
I
Don't tell me.
would agree, Damon.
I would.
Oh, Sauter.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
He shared some information with me yesterday. I'm not going to put him on blast,
Sure.
but I did say after he told me, I said, I'm going to let you go now.
Yeah.
That's mildly disgusting. I'll let him.
Was it about his knee?
Yes,
Ugh.
indirectly. Indirectly.
Oh, nice. But directly.
Yeah.
Man, you're gonna put me on the spot.
Put it to you like this. How long would you go or could you go? No, I'm not going to do it. Go ahead. Let's get to Brian.
Let's go back to Brian.
I don't have his permission and I don't want to embarrass him. Although knowing him, I don't think he'd care. B, what's up, buddy? Talk to me.
Okay. I'm about to make this real short. I know you said you don't play the red game, and I really don't play. I don't play it neither. But God dang it, if I'm swimming in the ocean, I don't think there's sharks. I'm an idiot. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm just saying. I looked at the NFL's rule compared to the NBA. The NFL seems to designate a off time of when you are representing your team.
Yep.
Like they I don't see that with the NBA. And my thought was, I'm not saying the NBA is or David Stern is racist. But I don't think he is. But I think they know they swimming in the ocean, and they know there's sharks there, and they know there's sharks what they eat. So they design those rules to go ahead and be able to get that money from the sharks.
Okay, but listen.
That's what. Go ahead.
So if
I don't blame him for that neither.
Okay,
I know.
so look, but yeah, that's what I was about to say. So if I know that if I know that I could potentially be inheriting some problems, right, with 18 to 22-year-olds who all of a sudden come into fame and fortune, and I'm smart for putting in built-in parameters to try to be preventative, right? Like,
yes,
because that's really what that is. Like sometimes if you take the Michigan Lance route and people aren't mature enough, sometimes you need to save people from themselves. And in order to save people from themselves, the only reason we have speeding laws are because people can't do what is in the best interest of others. So you have to have built-in parameters, right? I mean, like that's why you have rules. It's not, 80, whatever the percentage is. Majority of people understand that. There's just always going to be that percentage that don't. And sometimes you just don't know what that percentage is, so you play it safe. That's all.
I just wonder if there's a difference between the NBA and other leagues, because historically the NBA, I mean, I don't know if you probably heard there's been disparaging remarks made out of the acronym of the NBA, references to the NBA, especially since Michael Jordan is gone. And some people, I almost felt like the NBA felt like they were under attack for a certain demographic yesterday. So they sent Charles Barkley and them out there to try to defend them. And my thinking was, what you sending them out here to defend you for? If you got it in the rules, you're right. I mean, even if it seems like the rule is only made or made in a society for a group that might not like a certain group of people. Because in order to get them people to watch the product, you have to appease to them.
Yeah, but
I understand that. I'm understanding that dynamic. I'm not saying that's necessarily true. I'm just saying I didn't understand what I was seeing on TV between Charles Barkley. Once again, especially after the Kyrie thing, why are you coming on TV calling people idiots again?
Oh, when he was talking about JJ Redick.
Yeah,
he said the same thing about Mark Jackson when he left him off the ballot. He didn't say him directly, but he was like, "These people shouldn't have votes." Like, he's talking to Mark Jackson, who's African American.
Yeah, but okay, and our demographic. There are certain people that'll take the money, but there are certain people that they call militant to be like, "Hey, I'm not taking that money because it means I got to bend over to do this."
Right.
Charles Barkley. He'll take the money. I have no problem with that. But at the same time, you can't come back. In our demographic, you can't come on TV 2 different times this year and call people idiotic in those situations and ain't gonna have a good face. I think the whole situation get blown out of proportion because the man held a gun. I know it's against the rules of the NBA on TV, but he didn't kill anybody. Thank God. But there's people out here killing people with guns every day, and I'm like, this is the gun story we're focused on. This is what I'm thinking. To me, it made me feel sad as a black man because I'm thinking, man, this man is getting ridiculed. I'm explaining it right. Is that I feel like certain people that's being publicized more than other gun crimes that I'm seeing.
Understood. Understood.
That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And I don't even want to play the race card, but it makes, like I said, I'm not mad. I'm sad.
Right.
That I feel there's a group that views that almost like I like a certain type of girl, short. Okay? They look at me, oh, you're over 6'1". A lot of time I'm always here, you're scary just because I'm standing there looking. You can just look at me and tell I'm scary or threatening or menacing. That makes me feel sad.
I understand.
Okay, that's more where I'm coming from.
I understand.
I'm not mad at none of the stuff. The NBA is going to do the job.
You're just saying why does it have to be this way?
Yes.
Yeah, I get it.
That's why.
I understand.
That's all.
My man.
Okay, that's it.
Enjoy your Thursday, B.
Appreciate the call, B. Unfortunately, in regards to, I guess, guns in everyday society and guns with Ja Morant, he's under scrutiny because of the platform he's on.
And
that's just it.
And let's not act like
platform.
we didn't just have to handle a situation this week because of political climate.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just the way that it is, and you have to do your best.
How the world spins.
You don't have to subscribe to it, which I'm glad we didn't. But I do understand the heightened sense of sensitivity. Doesn't make it 1 Corinthians 10:23. All is permissible, all is not beneficial. Just saying.
Kyle Peterson coming on the show next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Flag has been raised. Miami has come into Boston and won with a masterpiece from Jimmy Butler.
We want to win as many games as we can in the shortest amount of time as we can. We did our job tonight.
Hey, welcome back. I want to take a moment and tell you about the College World Series kickoff party at Omaha Design Center. It's an opening day celebration, outdoor pre-party experience with live DJ and yard games. It's just 2 blocks from the stadium. It's got premiere viewing of the game on ESPN TV inside with, get this, air conditioning.
How about that?
That's huge.
How about that?
That is huge when you are down at the CWS, and the use of bathrooms, because it's hard to find a bathroom down there too.
That way, if they catch you outside. How about that?
How about that? Reserve your kickoff party tickets for $20 a person at omahaeventgroup.ticketleap.com. Again, that's omahaeventgroup.ticketleap.com. This will take place on Friday, June 16th at the Omaha Design Center off 15th and Cummings Street. We'll begin the kickoff party at 4 p.m. and the doors open at 4 p.m. as well.
Yeah, and the parking right there, it's right along that Cummings Street side on 15th. One of, well, I consider him family. His mom lives in those condos right there.
So whose mom lives there? Just a friend?
Yeah.
Did she?
Our kids play together.
Ever think about renting out her condo for the week?
No, but there was a graduation party there this weekend,
and it was lit. Or what the kids say, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, her baby graduated from college, so everybody was happy.
Congratulations. Let's go to the phone and talk to KP now. He's on, and Kyle Peterson, ESPN and SEC Network baseball analyst at KP_Omaha. What's up, Kyle?
Good morning. How are we?
KP, you're so subdued, man. It's PGA day. College baseball is close. Those are two things near and dear to your heart. I thought you'd be doing cartwheels.
No coffee yet.
A little early.
You caught me pre-cup one. So this is everything just gets out of hand from here.
Hey, what's typical? Are you a two black guy, one sugar, like one before eight? Like what's the routine as a coffee drinker?
So I'm a little strange, as you're aware, and when I'm at home, I hardly drink coffee. I don't know why. When I'm at the office, I'll have like 3 or 4 cups.
Really?
Just black.
Yeah.
Whatever's in there. Yeah, I'm not a. No, if it's black coffee, that's whatever.
Is that all the caffeine you get, like as your intake for the day, or do you drink throughout the day?
The running joke is that, especially on the weekends, I've always got a Yeti with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why.
I concur.
Security blanket. And there's times that during the course of the day, there's 4 or 5 different liquids that will be in that Yeti. And that's the beauty of a Yeti is as the day goes on, you just kind of adjust to how the day is going.
Bless your heart.
So generally, it starts to then we mix in a little hydration at some point, Diet Coke, maybe just to kind of ease into whatever follows.
Oh my man, it is a total security blanket for me. My Yeti is literally Linus. I feel bad when I leave it at home. I feel bad.
Oh yeah, and that's why I keep one at the office just in case.
Hey, look,
go far without it.
Andrew asked me something last week, and so I put it to paper. Could there be 7 host teams in the Carolinas?
I don't know if there can anymore.
Right, it's changed in a week. Right, I was thinking ECU, Wofford, North Carolina, Campbell.
East Carolina.
Like, what is going on in the Carolinas? You're a guru, but you didn't see like the Woffords and teams like that coming, did you? Wake Forest? Well, Wake Forest we did.
No.
Wake Forest we kind of.
Yeah, Wake was. I mean, they were preseason top 10, but I don't. Wake is kind of one of those that they had to. I think they had to prove it during the course of the year. It looked like they had the horses. I didn't know their pitching was this good. The pitching numbers is absurd. I mean, they play at one of the most offensive ballparks in the country, and they're leading the nation in ERA by a full point. And I'm not kidding you. Like it is a launching pad to right and left. But yet there's a fair amount of swing and miss. They throw a ton of strikes. They don't walk anybody. Like the math is simple. I mean, you throw a ton of strikes, you get a bunch of swing and miss, and you don't walk anybody. You're probably good at baseball. And that's what they've been the whole year. Yeah, Coastal is going to host. East Carolina's got work to do if they're going to be there.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, South Carolina's got work to do.
Well, the late season swoon. Maybe swoon's too strong of a word, but
they're hurt. I mean, the whole left side of the infield's out. 3 of their, I would say, top 6 hitters have been out the last 2 weeks. They're not going to get them back. One's a hamate, one's a hamstring. They should be back by the postseason.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if they don't, they get Tennessee this weekend, who's been bad on the road. Awesome at home, bad on the road. But if Tennessee wins 2 out of 3, and if South Carolina goes to Hoover and doesn't win a game or two, it enters the discussion of do they host? Because if you look at them full strength, South Carolina is one of the best teams in the country. If you look at them the way they are right now, and they're a little bit beat up on the mound too, they're not. And I still think there's a little work to do to feel comfortable to host. There's a lot of work to do if they're going to be a top 8, but I don't think they can be entirely comfortable to host quite yet, even though the first 40 games of the year, they were probably as good as anybody.
Along those same lines, all year it's felt like LSU against the field, but now I almost wonder if their lack of depth on the mound is a glaring problem. Would you say that's a fair or unfair assessment?
It's entirely fair. When Skeens is on the mound, they're the best team in the country.
Yeah.
But after that, at least on the mound, after that, they're above average, but they're not national championship where you would look at it and go, yes, that's absolutely who I'm going to pick. Wake is that. Florida is that. LSU isn't right now. And so I think the biggest advantage is, when Skeens goes out there, you're probably going to win 85, 90% of the time. I mean, that's what they've done all year against some of the best competition. But after that, it's a total coin flip, and it really has been the entire season. Ty Floyd has his days to where he goes out and you go, yep, that guy fits. 2 of their best arms in the bullpen had Tommy John within the last 4 weeks, and they didn't have a lot of bullpen depth. And they thought Christian Little would be a dude when he transferred over from Vandy. I mean, Christian Little was pitching the College World Series when he was 17. He's just been okay since then. And he's been, I would say, not even okay since he's been at LSU. So that's the issue. They can bang with anybody. Their lineup is phenomenal. But they're probably going to have to outscore people after day one.
Let's go near and dear to your heart, because here they are with the Stanford Cardinal. Top 5. They rake, right? Yeah. I mean, Montgomery's got 45 walks. Rios, 29 walks. They got a couple guys in the mid-20s. They can swing it. Do you like their makeup as postseason kind of looms? Remember, they used to be pitching you. They can still they're still okay on the bump, but man, they've been smacking. They rake.
Yeah, they do. It's similar to the team they had last year that was here.
Right.
And it's a lot of the same names. Rios is a guy that's come out of nowhere, really, second half of the season. He's been a first-team All-American. He still might be for the balance of the season, but he was not always in there at the beginning. Now he ain't coming out.
That's funny, too, because he has the fewest amount of official ABs. He's only, he's only got 180 plate appearances.
Yeah, I mean, he was not a we're going to plug him every day guy right at the beginning. And then when they did, and really during conference season, like if you go look at his conference numbers, this is, I guess, not knowing for sure, but if you look at his conference numbers as compared to anybody else in the conference, I would bet within conference, Rios is at the best year of anybody in that league. And when you started league play, I don't think you would have said, hey, Alberto Rios is going to be the reason that Stanford makes a run. Quinn Matthews is their Paul Skeens. I think he's second or third in the country in strikeouts. So they have that guy. They're not as thin as LSU after, but they're definitely not incredibly strong on the mound. They get a few really good pieces at the back of the bullpen, and that helps them. But no, they're built to make a run, and honestly, they're built to win the thing.
We're talking to Kyle Peterson at KP_Omaha on Twitter. KP, fill in the blank. The best all-around team that people are sleeping on ahead of the NCAA tournament is blank.
West Virginia.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Connecticut. That's a good call, though.
I think Wake is the best team. And I saw him in person a few weeks ago. I wanted to make sure I saw him before we got into the postseason, just because we do half the games from home, and you just don't see enough.
Right.
And it was good to see him and be around him a little bit. West Virginia's good, man. JJ Weatherhold is
yeah.
You take Cruz out of it, like go look at his numbers.
Oh yeah. He's got good stats.
He's got I think it's the best I think it's the best slug in the country.
Yep.
And he can run. I'll pull it up when we're talking, but the Big 12 is not great. And so I think you have to use that a little bit as a caveat in this. But what West Virginia has done within that league, they're still beating some really good teams. By the way, here's Weatherholt. 466, 530, 824.
Yeah.
1354 OPS.
We talked about him last week with Aaron Fitt, and we were like, wow.
Oh, he's a dude.
Oh my goodness. We're up against the clock, KP. Do you like Connecticut?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Connecticut, but I don't like it as much as West Virginia.
All right. Good stuff, KP.
Kyle, we appreciate you, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon.
Get that coffee, buddy.
Bye, boys.
Thanks.
Ravi Lula coming up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Gonzalez checks the runner, deals home, and it's swung on, driven deep to left field, high, back by the wall, and gone. He lined it right through the wind. The 2-run homer for Justin Turner, and the Red Sox have a 5-0 lead.
Hey, welcome back. Top of the hour here on Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. Before we get to Ravi Lula, let's take a moment and tell you about Big Brothers Big Sisters and their mission to support one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Midlands targets the children who need us most, including those living in single-parent homes, children in foster care, growing up in poverty, or coping with parental incarceration. Bigs meet with their littles twice a month to do activities that they both enjoy, which is great because that could include getting ice cream. I enjoy getting ice cream, playing basketball.
Ice cream!
I know DB enjoys playing basketball, attending a sporting event. We both like doing that, playing video games. That's all DB. You can find him in front of his son Micah's PS4 on the daily.
Not true.
Playing Fortnite.
Not true.
And Minecraft. And
couldn't figure out what he was waiting for this download for yesterday. It was taking like 2 hours. I was like, bro, I'd have been gone.
Happens. I've been there where you just sit on the couch for an hour just waiting for.
Well, he goes out in the back road. He goes out in the backyard to throw wiffle ball pitches and comes back and still has plenty of time.
Yep, that's it. So if you want to be a big, whether it's a big brother or a big sister, and you want to find out more, again, go to mentoromaha.org to sign up today. Ravi is here now. Let's welcome him onto the show. He is our regular fill-in whenever DB or I have to bounce to go somewhere else. And so how about today? He just joins and we
I don't know. I'm thinking we may have to get him a segment. Let's see how good he is. He's never done this radio thing.
We'll see how good he is.
He's never done this radio thing, man. Let's see if he's a keeper.
Oh, hey, Robbie.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Talking about me?
Oh, us? No, never.
Hey, were your ears burning?
Well, no, you can just hear when you're on
Hey, we've been working on that. Hey, so you always have, you're kind of a waffler, never have strong opinions. Who were you riding with more yesterday? Did you see any of Acho or Joy Taylor? Did you see Nick Wright? Did you see JJ Redick? I know you heard Barkley because you were watching the game. Where was Robbie riding with the whole John Morant thing?
Man, that's a super interesting question, right? I think I'm probably closest to where JJ Redick is at right now. Because I had similar thoughts a couple days ago, and I was like, am I being stupid? I don't know, it's one of those things that you're like I give him credit. I was a little afraid to say it out loud because I wasn't totally sure, right? It's one of those situations where
you were afraid to say something.
Ravi. Well, the thing I was thinking, I wasn't I hadn't thought about it long enough to be like, am I making sense or is that, you know what I mean?
I get that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To ruminate on a little bit longer to make sure I wasn't just zagging just for the sake of it, which I don't think I do very often, but I like to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of it, and JD didn't quite go here, but I guess I will. I think there's a part of our society that's just way more uncomfortable seeing a young black man with a gun versus an old white guy with a gun. I think a lot of that lands there. And I think that's a lot of what we're doing here because JJ made some really good points. Ja didn't do anything illegal. It's an open carry state, assuming he was in Tennessee. Now there's a track record of some kind of strange behavior that you don't love either. And so you're like, kind of what's happening there. And so that, you don't want to take it out of the context, but the reaction here, especially, you hear Adam Silver's comments yesterday and you're like, that's pretty aggressive. And I don't like it either. It's a terrible look for John Morant. I get that. This is not condoning his behavior. This is not, saying that he doesn't need to figure out what's going on in his life right now and maybe surround himself with some better people. But I do think there's a societal thing here that's that's reacting to this in a certain way because of what it looks like rather than what it is. Does that make sense?
No, I understand what you're saying, and I think actually what I landed on was I think Ja's just, you know, he's taking whatever you want to call it heat because of his platform, because he has a huge following count, because he plays in the NBA. And, you know, the NBA has regulations and, you know, they have rules and you have to follow those. But really, it just boils down to the platform thing. I mean, if you didn't see that video, this is what I told DB during the break. I said, whether Ja was playing in the NBA tomorrow or he retired today for some reason, the video would still surface and say ex-NBA player is shown waving a gun after blah, blah, blah incident. Well, he has hundreds of millions of followers, so it just picks up traction, and that's what you see versus, to your other point, you don't see another regular person, individual, whatever color you are, white, black, whatever, waving the gun and having millions of people seeing it. To me, it's just a platform thing.
Well, so guys, are we going to act like Charles Barkley said, I am not a role model? Charles Barkley is the guy that uttered that phrase, right? I am not a role model. So I felt like the soapbox thing, while I was kind of vibing with what he said, because, you know, with different job requirements, because he did say, he couched it, right? He said, hey, listen, you can sing, you can wave guns all you want to. You just can't do it on the NBA's dime.
Yeah.
So, right? So
it's one of those things where it's not illegal. It's what, you know, people do this with free speech stuff a lot, right? Where it's like, oh, it's free speech. You can say that. It's like, yeah, but your employer doesn't have to keep paying you.
Right.
Like, you're not going to go to prison for it. Congratulations.
Doesn't make it a good idea, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, and let's start there. And I think I mentioned this, but like, Ja Morant needs to make better decisions. First and foremost.
See,
like,
that's my thing. Like,
that's it.
What's keeping him from listening? And apparently, you didn't tell the commissioner the truth.
I mean, DB, you've seen this before, though, right? Like, with people, a lot of times, especially young black men, a lot of times will come up from situations that, you know, they don't want to let go of some of the people that brought them there, even if those people are not good for them.
Yeah,
Am I overstepping there?
No, I mean, listen. The Second Amendment is alive and real. Yes and no. Like, so let's. If that is the core of poor decision making, I'm willing to have that conversation. Right? If I were to ask Ja, if I'm Adam Silver, right, and I say, hey, Ja, why can't you just do what I ask you to do? And he says, well, commish, because of the way I was raised and my Afrocentric community, it just doesn't allow me to have good situational awareness. Would you take that?
It's not about that it doesn't allow him. Well, there's two things there, right?
No. Okay, go ahead, because I'm fully prepared.
An enormous level of emotional maturity and self-awareness for him to actually realize that was what was happening.
Okay, so let me say it a different way. What if he would have said, if Adam Silver says, hey, Ja, why can't you do what you just told me you would do 2 months ago? And Ja Morant says, well, I'm not old enough.
No, if he said, these are my guys, this is what we do when we hang out, that's kind of what I would hear is like, I'm not letting go of my guys.
Okay, is that an excuse or an explanation?
Well, it's an explanation, but it's not a very good one.
Well, it's not an explanation if there's no ownership.
Right. Well, that's fair. I mean, that's fair. And like I said, it would take, I think, a pretty decent level of self-awareness and emotional maturity for him to even get to that point where he could understand that was what was happening.
But he could answer the question, though. Like, I'm narrowing it down to like its simplest form without having to get into psychoanalyzing. Why can't you do what we agreed to from just 2 months ago? Because I think whatever the answer to that question is going. You could get to the root. Because that's ultimately what I want to do, right? You want to deter future behavior.
I agree. And I think in order to actually get to the root, though, he's got to take some accountability.
We got to answer the question. It's pretty simple. Not a lot of wiggle room.
I don't know if he's and in order to answer the question in any meaningful way, he has to take accountability. And I don't know that obviously, based on his kind of recent track record of events, it doesn't seem like he's ready to take accountability for his actions.
No, I think no. You see, I don't think that's what it is. I think his answer would be something to the effect of, I don't think what I'm doing is wrong. What if he says that, right? Because we're judging money on the floor at a strip club. We're judging waving guns on our moral compass. What if he told you, I don't see the problem with what I'm doing? And then Adam Silver would say, okay, I understand. But guess what? As an employee and part of this said association, you cannot. Then you could have a conversation about how to deter the behavior, because you can either not do the job anymore or understand that for us, it may not be. For you, it is wrong. You may be able to cuss at home. You may be able to spit at home. You may be able to call your people out of name. You cannot do it here in our classroom. Are we cool? Yes or no? Well, no. Okay, then you can't be here. Are we cool? Yes. Okay, then we have an understanding.
So that would be ideally how the conversation.
But I'm not that smart. There's people smarter than me that could exercise those same scenarios. I didn't have to go into my bag to think of something creative.
No, but you've also got you have a lot of experience with young people.
Okay.
Who come from different backgrounds.
True.
True.
I've been in the classroom.
Yeah, maybe administration is looking at things through a different moral compass than the young people are, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is, and that's a really good point by you, because I had thought of it that way, but I hadn't thought of it in that scenario, which is likely going to happen, right? Adam Silver is going to sit down with John Morant at some point and be like, hey, what's happening here?
Yep.
And I hadn't really thought of it as a principal-student situation, but that's a pretty close corollary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Adam Silver's trying to make sure that things run smoothly within his quote-unquote school, and John Morant say, hey, I don't think there's anything wrong with what I'm doing. What law did I break? What, a lot of the things that J.J. Redick said, right? Hey, what did I do here that was wrong? And at the end of the day, the conversation might just have to say, hey, what you do reflects on the NBA, and the NBA doesn't like that reflection.
Mm-hmm.
That might be as far as the conversation has to go. The reason I take it a little bit further than that is I take it out of this particular context with the Instagram live videos and stuff like that, and take it to his mom calling him to the mall and showing up to kind of intimidate a mall worker and having confrontations with a 17-year-old kid at his house over backyard basketball games.
That's Ravi. That's exactly what I'm trying to avoid, because I've seen madness perpetuated by simply saying things like, well, that's how we do it at home. Guess what? Unless you're going to keep them employed at the house, unless they're never going to leave your house, unless they don't have to interact with society, I'm willing to listen to you tell me that. But until that's the case, I have to think about the greater good. You can at some point, it's not going to be about just how you do things. That's not how the world works. So if my mom has enabled me or my dad has enabled me because this is how we handle conflict resolution, and that's the answer, it's an easy decision for Adam Silver. Cool. Go do that with your parents. Not that hard.
Yeah, no, I totally understand there. And I guess my question would be at what, 23 years old, however old John Morant is?
23.
A lot of us aren't very good at a lot of the things we're asking of him. And that's not an excuse, but I think we forget how young these guys are sometimes. I didn't make great decisions at 23, to be fair. Wasn't waving around guns and stuff like that. But I think that general immaturity is part of the discussion we're having here. A lot of 23-year-olds aren't that separated from what their family wants of them, their parents especially. A lot of 23-year-olds aren't used to, hey, I have to make decisions for the good of my career, not for the good of the people that raised me.
So when Robbie, when I'm in college, and I was arrested twice, right? Assault of a police officer, and then there was a domestic dispute in which I was at some point exonerated. Would you have said to me, or could I have said, hey, listen, I have two good parents, a lot like Clarence. They called me the Huxtables growing up. I know, right. No, I'm dead serious. I know I was taught right from wrong. I'm choosing to do otherwise because I'm defiant on how I was raised. I want to swim upstream against how I was raised because I feel like I need to fit in by acting like this. Would you appreciate my authenticity? Is that an explanation? Because I don't think it can be a two-way street because it gets too subjective, right? My coach told me, listen, there's something going on with you that doesn't allow you to follow directions. I would like for you to go see Dr. Stark. That hurt my feelings, right? But he was right? Yes, and I'm 19 years old.
Yeah.
So I guess you have to, until you force people to answer what you really want to know, I feel like we're not really addressing the problem. Because you don't know what the problem is.
You're right. You can't address the problem until you ask the questions that tell you what the problem actually is.
And they're going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, basically what we're landing on here is he needs counseling of some kind, which I think everybody does, right? But especially if you're, and I don't mean that as like, oh, he's mentally disturbed. I mean, there's probably a part of him that doesn't understand himself, the actions that he's taking. Like in the moment, it seems like not that big of a deal. And then he gets away from it and you're like, that didn't go the way I wanted it to. And you realize the consequences and things like that. And so there's probably a part of him that needs somebody to ask him the question, no matter how badly he doesn't want to hear it.
At what age should we be able to say or ask, are you capable of being a good employee? 14, 16, 19, 23, 29.
A lot of that depends on how much you're getting paid.
All right. The more finite the skill, the more wiggle room you have.
Yes, that's what it is for everything, right? If you're incredible at your job, you always have more wiggle room.
Correct.
Than the guy that's mediocre. Whether that's sales, whether that's NBA, whether that's what we do on the radio, you always have more wiggle room if you're good at what you do. And so, they're going to give John Morant more of a runway to figure things out than they would Duncan Robinson. Like, I don't know, pick a guy, right? Like
Rex Chapman, Jason Williams, the Birdman.
Rex Chapman's a great example.
Okay,
those are great examples. Yes,
right. Those guys aren't black. They're white and had plenty of wiggle room.
And they aren't the players that John Morant is.
Okay. See,
right?
when you slide the scale relative to blank, this is why we have these conversations. Because at some point,
I understand that. Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
But it can't be maybe it can be, but we live in the real world. Maybe it should be just this, hey, these are the things you can and cannot do, because that would make life a little bit easier on everybody. But we both know that's not how it works.
Sure.
So from a practical standpoint,
Robbie, where is it that's not how the world works?
Everything is subjective to how good you are at what you're doing.
Okay.
Everything.
We saw the president have charges brought up on a national level. Anything is possible if you're determined enough to deter the behavior.
Right, but listen, how has that affected his popularity with his base?
That doesn't see. That's out of my listen. That's out of my control. I can't.
But my point with that is the thing that he's good at is being popular with his base, and it did not affect what he was good at.
Okay, so but that's not my desired outcome. My desired outcome is for you to know that there are consequences for actions. I see this in the classroom all the time and on the football or on the playing field, and it drives me bonkers, right? Like, coming from a school where I had to at one point dress 19 guys and get my brains beat in because we were trying to establish a culture, like, it's just like at some point it's greater than how much money can you make me. And if Silver's, and this is a two-way street, right? Because it's built-in accountability on both ends. It's accountability for Adam Silver and how he wants to conduct business. It doesn't let him off the hook. If you're going to hard line, then hard line. If you're not, then you better be prepared to get what you're getting. And it works that way for Ja. It holds a common language, is built-in accountability. That's all we're after. Whether we agree with it or not isn't the point. We just don't have to keep going back and forth on whether this can be a working relationship.
But tell me if I'm wrong. I agree that's how it should be, right? I don't think that is often how it is.
Because we think like that. Because we think like what you just said.
Right. That's what I mean, though. I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying that's how it often plays out. Because if you hardline, like you're talking about, you can find yourself in really uncomfortable situations like you did that you don't necessarily want to be in.
Like what? Like divorce?
No,
I give that example because that's what happens.
No, I'm talking about having 19 guys and getting your brain beat in. You didn't want to be in that situation.
No,
right?
No,
you wanted to have 50 guys that you could trust and count on.
Yeah.
And go out and be competitive, right? But you believed in what you were doing more than you cared about the result of any individual game. Is that fair?
That is absolutely correct.
So unless you have that power of conviction, which I don't know Adam Silver, I don't know if he does or not. I know most people don't. In a lot of things they do.
I don't know.
Not everything. No, come on, DB. You've met too many people to know. In most things that most people do, they don't have that level of conviction.
Listen,
to make themselves and put themselves in a really difficult situation.
Okay.
When they know there's a way to get out of it, at least in the short term. Long term might be worse.
It's because we speak it into existence, right? Because some people will nod their head and agree with you, and they're like, "Yeah, Robbie, he's right." But guess what? Just because it is doesn't mean it has to be.
And doesn't mean it should be. I agree with you there. But if you're Adam Silver, bring it back to the John Morant thing, right? If you're Adam Silver and you hardline the John Morant thing, which is if that's what he decides to do because he's like, hey, the image of the NBA has no room for this in it, right? And he's like, okay, that's what we're doing. Whether you think that's right, wrong, or indifferent, let's say that's the decision that he takes. That means that Steph Curry or LeBron James find themselves in this position, he has to do it with them too. He doesn't want to be painted in that form.
Okay, so all right, that's fine. My point is to land the plane, then you get what you get. If you want to be situational, then you have to be able to bear the criticism.
I agree, and that's not the best place to be, but I think that might be where we end up.
That's why you have rules.
Hey, thanks, Robbie.
See you guys. Nice talking to you.
Hey, we need to get to the game.
Yeah.
We're going to get to Jimmy Butler as a 1A here in a minute.
I just let you guys go. We'll be back.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
This was a great bed to come back with because it sounded like a mic drop right there. Just DB, Andrew Rogers back on Coffee and Cream.
Thought you were calling my name.
DB.
What up?
DB and Robbie having very good conversation, which had me thinking more than interrupting, like trying to get my opinion in. Because as I told DB during the break, I'm like, I had something to say. And then I felt I would have been 3 minutes late with what I wanted to say.
That's not.
But the jaw thing is just a lot to unpack.
Because it's a microcosm.
Well, because there's more problems that come out of it just because of one incident. And when I say more problems that come out of it, like the NBA has things that they need to figure out too in handling things.
Yeah, and guess what? Like, it's not a race issue.
No. Because if Mike Trout was waving a gun too,
it's not a
Rob Manfred would probably say something.
And if we keep making it about race, then we need to figure out why more African American males aren't shooting up schools. It's not. I think a lot of it is mixed messages and beating around the bush.
So here's where I land. Ja Morant's just an attention fiend. That's what it is. Because he has the ability.
Were you going to use the W word?
I was thinking about it, but I changed it to
Would your
teen.
mom be cool with that?
Probably not.
That's okay.
She'd call me a sailor.
But she knows you got potty mouth.
Oh yeah, because I go potty every break, so that's in order to appease the 2-year-old back at.
I said more cuss words out loud yesterday than I have in 48 years.
Yeah, and you're not a cusser.
Nope,
you're not a cusser
at all. I was
got worked up in the afternoon. But here's the thing: John Morant has the ability to stay off of social media. Every person in this world has that ability, but you choose to still be on social media doing this. You know you're live streaming in your car, or your buddy's doing something in the car.
Mm-hmm.
You know that if this happens, you can be seen.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that ability to remove that in all senses of that word, remove. When I was in college and we had rush week for the fraternity, you can't drink with new members at all. You can't do that during rush week. You can't do that. So you remove social media out of that equation. Social media did not get removed out of that equation. And because of that, IFC came raining down. Ergo, the NBA comes raining down.
Ergo.
You can remove yourself. Mistakes happen. I get that. Mistakes happen when you're 40. Mistakes happen when you're 23. But when one mistake happens, do you want to learn from that mistake, or do you want to keep doing it? Or, you know what? Enhance your mistake by removing social media in the equation, right? Just remove it altogether, because this is what you do. You are a role model to a lot of younger kids. A lot of people are wearing your jersey.
Like it or not.
So when they open their phone and go to your Instagram live that's taking place and they see you acting like this, maybe they think they can do it too. Whether it's how they were raised or not, they look up to you. So you have to act as if you're a role model too. Whether you're 12, whether you're 23, whether you're 86. You have to act like an adult, even if you're not one, because you have that platform. And that's, I'm going back to the platform thing again. If your kids, here's a question that came across StreamYard, and somebody wanted you to answer it. So,
me?
Yeah, to you. Because it says, stemming off, this comes from Christian Bridges, stemming off the Ja social media incident, would you dive into the type of conversations you have at home with your children about posting on social media?
Yeah, so listen, I give you, and I know we got 2 callers. It's not about me, but since the question was posed to me, you can call Micah tomorrow on the way to school. Micah has had 2 accounts shut down on TikTok. He's an Instagram guy. And I told him, I've had this conversation. Listen, first and foremost, you're a Benning. Okay. Second of all, we're not doing this on social media. Do you understand? Are we clear? Okay. And so what does he do now? Hey, is this song okay? Is this music okay? Is, like, you've heard some
That's the precedent that my parents even set for me. I had to sign a contract with my dad when I first got a Facebook page.
I'm not saying, I don't, in our household, we don't get into, well, you used to do it or you did it too and all that. Because guess what? My job is to make sure that you're not only better than me.
Lead them.
Not make sure that you're not only better than I am, is that you don't, that it's easier for you than it was for me.
Well, Dad, you got to do that. Your response is, how did that turn out for me?
We don't have those conversations.
How did that turn out for me? If that's really, and then it goes back to the very beginning of our conversation today. Well, because you got to do it, shouldn't I get to do it?
He'd be a good kid to ask.
But right? I'm with that question too.
Had a certain degree of difficulty, right?
Because you have to handle those conversations with a progressive mind. Of you're not going to do it like I did.
We've been there. Split household, stepmom, being light skinned, not being like some of the others, wanting to fit in. Listen, man, this isn't new to me. This isn't new to me. And a lot of my struggles early on in my life come from the fact that I was defiant, because I had learned along the way that I felt like I had to be a certain way that wasn't. I've said this before, and I mean it. I was too black for some and not black enough for others. That's the reality of it. Not afraid to say it out loud, because guess what? I had to struggle with some things, right? I went through 3 or 4 years, non-white this, can't do this. All my art projects and curriculum and learning, guess what they were about? Malcolm X. I have 50,000 drawings of Malcolm X, right? My artwork. I'll show you my portfolio tomorrow. It's unbelievable, because I was so defiant and so lost on what was supposed to be. I'm mad about the Huxtable thing. There's no black people in my neighborhood. I live on 90th and Fort, off of and Maple Village. Like, I'm mad, right? Oh man, your dad's in education. Yeah, so what? Do your job. Does your dad know that you listen? Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So I pushed the envelope. Guess what? I'm trying to save people from themselves. At some point, which is why I tweeted out yesterday. I saw it on TikTok, and I know the Chinese are coming after me, right? They got my data. Guy did a thing with a $20 bill. He crumpled it up. He spat on it. He stepped on it. He said, "Hey, how many of you guys still want this $20 bill?"
Everybody probably raised their hand.
Everybody raised their hand. Why? Because the $20 bill
value doesn't go away.
Still had value. So you have to understand your sense of self-worth.
Mm-hmm. Great point.
You have to
great point.
Because if you don't mean anything to yourself, you will be whatever for whomever situationally, which is why I don't talk about happiness. I talk about joy. Happiness comes from what's happening. And so when I hear this rationalizing of, well, this, and listen, at some point, it is not in your best interest to continue said behavior. If you don't want to realize that, I can't help you. And unless your parents or guardians or your grandmother or granddad or mom or father is going to employ you, then we're not having what you can do at home. We're not having the discussion what you grew up with. I can give you grace, right? Because that's not getting what you do deserve. But I can't rationalize mistake over and over and over again. At some point, because I do love you, I have to act a certain way. And listen, it puts the onus on Silver. It puts the onus on Ja. You gotta stop making it about race, though, because it's a people issue. It's a people issue. It's we think it's cool. Because our moral compass is off, right? Yeah, I hate the hunting example. Oh man, well, you're a hunter. Yeah, you know what? Like, not shooting people, right? And sometimes they're eating what they kill, and that's what they do for a sport. I'm not
more times than not. That's what you do.
I'm not into that, and because they can, doesn't mean I get some spin-off or variation of it. It's not that dude. I apologize.
Don't apologize.
It's just we just continue the cycle because we make excuses, and that's where I'm at with it.
When we come back, we'll talk to Brian Edwards. Jay, Brett, if you stick around, we will get to you at 9 before we do the sports six-pack. But Brian Edwards coming
wide open
way.
at 9
next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Now, Vegas insider, senior handicapper, and fan of the cold Budweiser bottles, Brian Edwards.
It's got to be touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
Brian Edwards.
I don't really love it.
Brian Edwards.
Were they using the cream cheese to butter the bagel?
Brian Edwards.
I'm going with the cowgirl.
Here is Brian Edwards.
DB already tossed out the line to open the day. The cream cheese, butter the bagel.
That's
and
my man.
Now we'll be able to hear from BE whenever he gets logged through. There he is. He's on via StreamYard and in front of his white staircase with his gamer headset, his glasses. He's got his picks. He's got everything. He's got his Yeti like DB because he's trying to be more like DB. BE, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. What's happening?
Brian, I'm just trying to make it, man. A lot going on. How about you? Are you smiling this morning? Up, sun came up. Little orphan.
Yeah.
Annie.
Yeah, I am. I'd been on a slight little NBA slump, but snapped out last night. I had the Heat and I had Boston's team total over in the first half and the game. So all winners last night. So I'm all smiles today.
There it is. You and Mark Grace, the king of slump busters. Hey, are you looking forward to Loma and Haney, or where are you at with boxing?
Yeah, I do want to watch it, but I'm not, I don't know. I don't
Hard call, Shane.
Hang tight, BE. Did the button get pushed?
Uh-oh.
That is negative.
He's double checking. He's double checking
On
his
this
end.
end.
Did the button of the mute get pushed, Shane?
That is no, it's still there.
Okay.
Am I still here?
Thank you, though.
We can't hear you, B. We had you, and then it just cut out, which a lot of times this is what is probably happening. You're on the radio right now, but just not on our end. What do you think, Shane? Are we thinking log out, log back in?
What about now?
Try it now, BE.
Right. You don't hear me?
Nope.
Okay,
See,
logging out.
As much as DB wanted the answer on boxing. Yep. Amazing Daniel comes through. We can hear him, so it's got to be on our end, Shane.
And you remember, go back to that little button. Hey, just relax. Don't panic.
Go back to that one button, remember?
Don't panic. Go back to the little button that you said you had to hit before. Just take a deep breath. We'll figure it out. Walk yourself through the process of what happened last time when you're like, it's that one little button. So kind of stay in that neighborhood.
Mode?
Yeah, stay in that mode. Just get your composure.
BE is back.
All right. Sorry about that.
Still can't hear you on our end, but I thought I heard a little bit of an echo there.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
No?
You want to mulligan and start over, Shane?
Hello.
It's going to be a shorty segment. We'll only get him for like 4 or 5 minutes, but we can call him back if you want.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. All right. Give him a call back. Take a deep breath. Get it figured out.
All right, B. Hopefully you heard that. We're going to give you a call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Call him right back. Thanks, Shano.
All right. We'll get to Brian Edwards here soon. I know DB, you've been talking about this boxing match all morning.
I'm pretty excited. I don't know how I'm going to, because is it ESPN Plus or is it ESPN? Do you know?
Plus, I believe.
Do you know? I have ESPN Plus. I think it expired in May. I have to check my Roku subscriptions because I've been using The Athletic, so I haven't been on Plus, so it may have expired on me. But I got to figure out how to watch it in Des Moines.
ESPN Plus pay-per-view.
Okay, I can do the Plus thing. Shane, how are we?
Let's do this again.
All right, Brian,
B.
are you there?
And now.
There he is. I can hear him.
What's up, B?
What's up, gentlemen?
All right,
There
we're
he
going to
is.
speed now. We're going to speed.
Yeah, no problem. So tonight, I like under 227 on Denver and the Lakers. Now, totals have been an overall wash for the Lakers in their last 14, but 3 of their overs either hit 227 or were lower than that. And obviously, that's the total tonight. And then there was another one that only got a 228, and that was in overtime. The under's on a 15-9-1 run for Denver, and it's last 25. I'm going to do the little zigzag after a lot of buckets went down the other night, and it went over. I'm going to go under tonight.
B, I was looking through your DMs, and you have Michael Johnson plus 135 versus Ferreira and Mackenzie Dern, and you put she's single now.
that was a big deal, though.
Yeah, it's a real big deal if you ask me. And it's for those unfamiliar, just check out her Instagram. But the good-looking gal can fight too, and I like her chances to win by submission. She's got 7 career submissions in her 12 wins, which is 15 total fights, and she's plus 180 to win by submission. Now, I'm okay with betting her, on the – I don't like to bet straight prices that are in the minus 170 range. That's a little expensive, but I'm okay with her in a parlay, maybe even with Michael Johnson. But I'm going to bet Michael Johnson straight. He's won 2 of his last 3, but a lot of people thought he won 3 in a row. It was a close decision, a fight of the night. And Ferreira is going the other way with 3 straight losses. So I'll go Michael the Menace Johnson plus 135 against Ferreira.
All right, so is there any did you take a look at the series price? Obviously the Heat weren't listening, and I don't know why we keep selling them short, because Boston's notorious.
It's like the Knights
for taking nights off. Is there value either way in a team that is 0-1 and a series price?
So shame on me or all of us. Well, we'll see how the series goes, because we could have had the Heat on plus 400 going into the series yesterday. But after winning game 1, the Westgate Superbook has the Celtics minus 220. I mean, you still get plus 180 on the Heat, which might still be attractive to some. I decided to pass on it, and I'm regretting it. But I was, going pretty heavy on Miami last night. Look, I'm still going to go with Miami in game 2. I mean, it's +9. But it's a big number, and they're doing great as an underdog right now. In fact, they are 9-2 ATS with 8 outright wins their last 11 as a dog. But that's 9-1 with 7 outright wins when Jimmy Butler's in the lineup. And the Heat are 10-3, but straight up ending at the spread last 13. And in 8 games this year, underdogs of 7.5 points or more, they're 7-1 ATS. So I'll take the Heat plus the 9. I'll also go Boston's team total over 112.5. It kind of creates conflicting rooting interest when you're on the Heat and Boston's team total over. But it worked for me last night. I wasn't too conflicted. Boston has scored 114 or more in 12 of its last 16. They've scored 112 or more, which would be a half point short, but they've gotten to 112 in 14 of their last 16.
Hey, ride the wave, B. When the Lakers go home in a couple of games, are you going to just hammer LA because of how strong they've been in the playoffs?
We'll see. We'll see how game 2 goes tonight. We'll see what kind of numbers we're looking at in games 3 and 4. I know if they're down 0-2 and they put up a strong effort, which they did in the second half the other night, if they're less than 3, down 0-2, and, they are competitive tonight, I would probably lean Lakers in game 3.
So you kind of have a feel like these team totals run out, and you pay really close attention to team totals. Have you ever do you ever think to yourselves, like, I think to myself, okay, I've convinced myself, for example, the Lakers can't win a game if, let's say, the Nuggets score more than 110, right? Like so do you sometimes look at team totals and pit it against what it is ATS to kind of arrive at it, or do you just look at the number in its individual state?
It can correlate at times, especially when you've got a lot of confidence in, like, let's say back to the Atlanta series. If you've got a lot of confidence in Atlanta scoring, then maybe you play them as a big underdog. But you're also confident that Boston's going to score on Atlanta. And you want to do Boston's team totals over. I mean, sometimes it correlates, sometimes it doesn't. It's really just betting on one team's offense. Or if you're betting under a team total, you're betting on one team's defense. I'm just confident Boston's going to put up points even against the best defenses in the league.
Gotcha.
They just have so many weapons when they're healthy. And that's just – and I really got on it in the Atlanta series just because I know my Hawks don't play any defense. And it was so good to me in that series, and it's kind of carried over.
Hey, how scary is it with Spoelstra versus Missoula matchup?
Yeah, that is huge, and another reason, shame on us, we didn't take the Heat for the series when we could have had plus 400 yesterday. Yeah, big mismatch. That's a great point, and I think the head coaching advantage will be Miami's way the entire series.
How about Jimmy Butler's mentality? Like, who's the peer or the kind of the emotional equal on Boston's side? Would it be Smart?
Yeah,
maybe Jaylen Brown, because it doesn't appear to be Tatum.
Yeah, I like the. I mean, Smart's not going to put up the numbers that Jimmy does, but in terms of the approach, the toughness, the attitude, the moxie, all that, I think Smart's a good comparison there, man. Jimmy's just playing out of his mind right now. He's doing whatever they need. If they need him to score, he'll score, but he doesn't have to score. He's just going to get them. I think Spoelstra said this in the presser last night. He's just going to get them a good shot on most trips, whether it's him shooting it or getting a good look for somebody else. And, man, they're rolling right now. Very, very impressive.
Good things happen when he does score, though. B, before we let you go here, I need my degenerate bet of the day today. Who is scoring the first basket in the Lakers-Nuggets game?
Oh, Lord.
Joker, but that's probably got the least
I bet it's still plus money.
Always. It's like it won't be any less than plus.
I mean, because you're like 1 out of 10, right? I mean, that's hard to pick.
We've gotten 3 in a row before, 3 games in a night.
You are sick.
5 to win like $1,000 or something.
Brian, we're gonna get Andrew checked out. Don't be alarmed. We're gonna get him checked out.
Thanks, B.
Don't let him talk to those Iowa State ball players.
Wow.
No, they're talking to me.
All right, y'all have a great weekend.
Thanks, B. We'll be back with the Sports Six Pack. Stick around. It's more coffee and cream coming your way.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Time now for the Sports Six Pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
It is Sports Six Pack time. We want Jay and Brett to call back. We want to make sure we get to them. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Okay, great. Jay, you speak it into existence, right,
sure.
DB?
That's kind of my thing.
You pointed to the iPad and you were like, hey, tell them to call back. And I said, call back. And you right then and there.
Well, they're listening to your voice, not
here's
mine.
Shane
Not mine.
typing it in. Yeah, but they are watching your gestures on the stream. If that's where you're catching us.
I'm a big speak it into existence guy.
Okay, so we'll wait on the sports six-pack, and we will start with Jay. But before we go there, I want to tell you about Zipline, who is our sponsor of the sports six-pack. There's a new read today, DB, and it's because I wonder if this could be looked at as bittersweet news. Due to an upcoming brewery expansion, Zipline will be saying farewell to their original taproom on West O Street in Lincoln next week. So, because of that, they have events that you can attend, a week full of them. Starting Monday, May 22nd, it's Green Label IPA Pint Night. Buy a pint of their flagship IPA and receive a free pint glass. It's limit one per customer while supplies last. But these events go all the way through the week. Tuesday is Big Prize Bingo. Wednesday, Trivia. Thursday, there is a cask tapping, which you can bring in your favorite Zipline glass and get a free fill. And then the final Friday with Machete Archive, Universe Contest, and Ghost Like. So fun events all throughout the week. Make sure to check out, I'm going to call it the farewell tour of the Zipline original tap room. Let's go to line one and talk to Jay. Shane, pot him up. Jay, good morning. What's up, man?
How you doing, sir?
Jay, good morning, man. What's up, buddy?
Dandy.
Well, I heard the beginning of a very interesting conversation. And then I was gonna call in, but I didn't get to hear it. But I got to get all of my errands done this morning, and now I'm here. Okay?
You're welcome.
Hey, so you've aged out of having to do the early morning school drop off, right?
No, I still do it.
Okay.
I still do it.
Okay.
I still do it. It's just not at 6 a.m. because she's a cheerleader.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
So it's just normal school. All right, so let me get to my little piece and let me let y'all go about your wonderful day. All right. The Ja Morant thing is a thing. So let me come at it this way. I'm a youth worker. I work with young people consistently. In my day job, I try to think of ways to help the next generation be better than we ever could imagine we are, right? So, like, that's the whole trajectory of my thought is how can we make the next generation better than us? How do we evolve, right, collectively? So when I, in that thought process, it comes up like, what are we putting into our young people? And this example for Mr. Morant hits a little different for me because I've seen young people torn, right? Like literally having dual partnership in a fantasy life and in reality. Right. And we have contributed, right, just as much as they have to this false reality of, two different things. And the reason why I say that, and I don't want to sound like a super old guy, but it just is what it is. Facts are facts. Like if you put into someone, right, a consistent like diet of violence, right, every single day, everywhere you turn. And, even with you two guys, if you just look at what you've seen and what you've experienced in entertainment and news and every aspect of your life, but because you're older, you had, blessing the brain capacity to be able to compartmentalize what you see and what you are. You feel me? But the generation behind us, like they kind of came in, at a time when the world was just opening up and we just kind of forgot how we got where we are. You know what I mean? So like their music, their videos, their video games, their TV, their everything is like super hyper violent. Mm-hmm. So when you put that in the thought process of now we're trying to politicize the right to carry a gun, the right to say all these things, and so many lies are put out there, it's just confusing for young people. It's very difficult for them to, compartmentalize what they know to be right and what is okay if someone is raising them correctly and what they see and what they are literally submerged in everyday life. So I'm not making an excuse for Ja. I'm not making an excuse for Ja because there is no excuse. But the facts are the facts. Here's a 23-year-old guy that is wealthy beyond any of our thought process that are on this call right now, right? None of us have seen the amount of money that he has access to, right? And access can either be the most amazing thing or the most detrimental thing for any person, right?
Absolutely.
Access to things too fast, access to things too soon, access to things too much. Unlimited access to anything could be detrimental. So you have a young man who was raised in a society that we created in a small town, right? His biggest experience to see bigger cities was when he was in AAU basketball. And again, he was treated like a different person in that world. Then he went from AAU basketball being treated different to college where he was treated different. And now he's in the NBA where he is treated different. He lives in a world that everything is accessible. Everyone is accessible. So when you tell him, put your gun away and don't do this and don't do that, or we're going to take your job away, it's difficult for him to compartmentalize because he's had access since he was like 14, 15 years old. Not to mention now he's $200 million strong. So everywhere he goes, people treat him different. There's no excuse, right? He is and should be held accountable for his actions. But if we could do something better, right, what we could do is turn this into a positive and look at this situation as an example of what we are trying to avoid in our own children and the young people that don't have $200 million, the young people that do not have access to the lawyers and the publicists to cover up what he's got going. I'm talking about the young people that make these same type of choices on the same social media platforms without the support that he has, that end up in situations that we will never hear about. So instead of it being isolated, let's poop on Ja, let's take a look at what we're doing to the generation that comes behind us. If we don't, then the world that our grandchildren and we live in as old men will suck.
Listen,
you do not want to get your diaper changed by a rain.
I'm lockstep with you, right? You said it a little bit a different way, but we have used some similar terms where I said I want my kids to be better than I was. I want the kids that I coach to have it different than kind of what we had to deal with. And so my point in that is, because I even hear the duality in your message. It's like, okay, we know that it's this, and this, and I'm not making excuses for ... but. So my answer to that is I said at the very beginning, instead of comparing it to what other people have maybe done in Congress, because that was the rally cry yesterday, right? Well, look what other people get to do in their pictures, and they get to glorify and they get to do this. And I simply said, listen, you need to get to the root of the issue, and you have to be willing to ask hard questions. Ja, what is it about your personality traits, whether it's your rearing, how you were reared, whether it's you were under the influence, whether there's mental health issues, whatever it is, what is it that doesn't allow you any sort of consistency in a 2-month span where we just had this conversation and you turn around and do it again? Now, whatever his answer is how you know how to try to remedy the situation. If Josh says, hey, man, listen, it's how I grew up. It's what I'm accustomed to. I'm conflicted in the message. Some people get to glorify it. Some people don't. I feel like I should. Then Adam Silver can say something to the effect of, okay, hey, listen, I get it. I now know where you're coming from. But in the NBA, you cannot do that. So if you want to stay gainfully employed in the NBA, this is what you have to abide by. Are we clear? Then you get some sort of policy in place. If Josh says, hey, man, I'm too young to know any better. Okay, Ja, well, let me explain this to you. It's in writing. This is the print in the CBA agreement. Let's go through it together. Do you understand what's in the verbiage? If you do, are we clear? Ja's going to say yes or no. Then you act accordingly, right? So my thing is for individuals, it's different what the catalyst or the core is, but we make these sweeping generalities because we want to be all inclusive. You can't have it both ways and rectify the situation. You can't. You know, one of the reasons why I couldn't. I was, listen, the Black Star in the district, right? The young African American male. Do you know why I couldn't be? You know why I didn't want to be fast track in administration? Hey, go back to school, get your master's, this, that, and the other. When I'm in Title I, because I didn't know if I was willing or capable to play by the rules, as opposed to handling it case by case. I don't believe because student blank did this that it sometimes means the same thing that when student blank did. Well, according to the student handbook. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of more in the solutions business because I don't want punishments to be punitive. Well, I don't know if this is going to be free. Listen, I don't know either. Right. So, and I only use myself as an example, not to make it about me, but it provides clarity to what my next move should be. At least I'm not guessing on what the expectation level is.
Right. And I think the nuance is what America is in denial about, right? The nuance that it is layered. The reason why Ja is being looked at in the way he's looked at, and the reason why we're talking about it is a different situation, but let's just take it this way. The reason why we're talking about it is because of his influence. You feel me? It's because that it is nuanced to the point where here is a guy that is a $200 million man. We have created a system where we treat people with a lot of money different than we treat people with less money. That's just the way it is, right? So because he has this money, it changes all the rest of the data points that make up Ja. It changes all of them, right? Even though it's the same situation in some instances, the same situation that we deal with kids that don't have $200 million. What makes it different is that he does, and he has access to more than any of us have, right? So because of that, we hold him in high regard. In one regard, we make him this, and in another regard, we make him,
Hey, does your sense of self-worth have anything to do with your fiscal wherewithal?
No, not at all.
Okay,
Not
so
one.
we need to stop having that conversation.
But we can if we instill in young people what their sense of self-worth is.
And there's some adult responsibility too, because if you've listened to what we've talked about, I want the onus to be on Adam Silver too, because I need to know. I want to know if Adam Silver is the type of person that says, "Hey, man, this is one of our best and brightest under 25. We need him in the league." And he's willing to compromise and look the other way without setting precedent. That tells me what I need to know about him too in a position of leadership. So it's common language is just built-in accountability. It's a two-way street. It's not just about what Ja can learn. It's about what the association needs to learn too. Hey, what are we willing to overlook for our sponsors? What are we willing to overlook for will people really tune into Memphis and one of my small market media darlings without Ja Morant? Listen, if you're not willing to lose those revenue TV dollars, I'm just not sure you're somebody I want to take direction from. So Ja will know what he's working with. The people in his sphere of influence will know what they're working with. We keep saying, well, we know that it's this way because of this. But the greatest thing about human nature is we're the single greatest variable on the planet. That means you have the ability to change. So just because it has been doesn't mean it always should or will be. That's my point. But if we're not willing to peel back the layers and not give it near as much wiggle room without in the same vein saying, well, we know that other people get to, and not, we're just going to be talking.
Right. I guess nuance, bro. It's just nuance. It's what we've created. We made it this way.
Well, then we got to fix it.
That's real. The same token that we can grab any of the things that we're passionate about personally and make it the realest thing in the world. We have to be able to empathize, right, and see the world through the lens of our brothers and our sisters that have a different culture, a different lifestyle. Now, this situation is nuanced because of the money. If this was not a superstar basketball player, then we would not be talking this layered. We would be saying, oh, he's this. We would label him and put him in a box, you know what I'm saying, literally and physically, and forget about it, you know what I'm saying? But because of the access that he has, because his dollars, right, count for our dollars, and you know what I'm saying? Like you talked about TV revenue and all the other revenues of other people that get rich off of the fact that he is rich. That is what makes this situation more nuanced than it actually truly is. So if we're not talking about economy, we're not talking about money, then we make it about humans, just people, then we can have a conversation. How do we help Ja? realize what he is, what he has, right? And help bring him down a notch to recognize that he's just a guy that can play basketball. But can we handle that, though? Can society handle that he's just a guy that can play basketball, that has influence to be able to inspire young people to do just as much or more than he has, right? But at the same time, he also has the access to be able to influence young people to do things that we would never want them to do.
Understood.
He also has, because of access. So we have to determine as a society, what do we want? What do we want the main thing to be? And if the main thing is violence and we continue to perpetuate that thought process, then we should not be surprised if what we get in return are violent things. But if we want peace, then we got to walk in peace. And we know where that is, Damon. I don't know if you have, I can say it. I know the Bible peace.
I
can say it unequivocally. You know what I mean?
Understood. I appreciate the call,
Jay. Thanks for the call.
See, the duality in that message is what he's arriving at is his sense of self-worth, right? Because you can't have everybody have the same frame of reference point, because not everybody has the same thing. So you better make it about the basic concept of self-worth, right? If you want me to understand why it's way too close to home, but I always heard this about Lawrence. Well, I can't believe he did this and wasting this much money. And I'm like, listen, stop making it about the financial wherewithal, because you're not speaking his language. He wants to be understood as an individual, not run, black boy, run, right? Not shut up and dribble, right? Not just run the football. Because what happens without a sense of self-worth is you become defiant because you think you can't fight against labels, right? If Xavier Betts says to me, look, coach, nobody even likes me. These people aren't my friends. If I can't just run, jump, and catch a football, what's my sense of self-worth? Like, do people not understand that? Like, just the common core of human interest. Do you value me as a person? Close to home. Why do I never talk about Nebraska football unless asked? Why do I not talk about, if you and I were to go, we were just at the Papio Pub, whatever, a couple months ago, right? Is the conversation ever about my former life, sports? Nothing.
Ever.
Do you know why? Because subconsciously, I was so insecure that people only want to talk to me because I'm good at sports, that I'm going to go the other way. You're going to like me for me, warts and all. Warts and all. I don't want it to be about sports, because culturally, if all we feel like we're worth is the good that we can, the goods or services that we can provide for you, I'm going to be situational. And until people understand that, you're going to get the fluctuation of, well, do you know I can't guarantee it. My gut says, if you really sat Ja down, Ja would say something to the effect of, if I didn't have so much money, would you guys pay me any mind? You don't care about these other poor black kids. So why are you worried about me? Just because I have money? See, that's a problem.
Well, money, talent,
listen,
representative.
No. Lots of people have talent. Not lots of people have money.
Well, talent in different areas.
But you understand? You understand?
I know where you're saying,
what I mean?
But if they sat him down, it's more than just the money for him.
I think I think that's going to be somewhat how he would answer. So if you're Adam Silver, then you can't make it about the money. If it's a business, then Ja's going to make business decisions. And if it's about valuing your product, then maybe he would look at his actions and himself differently, because it's not about what he can provide for you. It's about you taking vested interest in me.
And that's why I landed my argument on platform, on person,
I'm with
on
you.
how you affect what comes next through social media.
Yeah, it's legit.
And then going back to one last thing that Jay said, and we'll get to Brett here. Jay said you have to let John know how to take responsibility for it. In the same light, it goes back to the first thing that you said. Listening. He's got to listen.
You just got to hear
he's got to listen. You've got to listen, and then you've got to work together to make it happen.
The number one point that I made, you have to have the conversation. Otherwise, you're debating something that you may be majoring in the minors. We got to major in the major, And that's, in my opinion, it's individual self-worth.
Let's get to Brett real fast. Brett, you are on Coffee and Cream. Got about 3 minutes. What's up, man?
Hey, so yesterday you guys were talking about high school athletes and specializing and when do you know, when do you not know? And I look at it as from a little bit different. I think that's wrong because I think you kind of pass the eyeball test, maybe feel like my son, feel and sound in baseball, but some of that's just kind of a money grab, isn't it? They see a kid with a little bit of talent and they're like, hey, if you spend all this money, we can put you at this level. But how often does that pan out?
Not super often. I mean, when I got reached out to a lot for camps in high school, like I would probably spend a lot of money on camps and it didn't pan out for me. But I can see where you're going with that. But that's also, I think, the best place to access or get access to those coaches, to those scouts and things like that. So to some degree, I get it, but to another, I also get your point.
And I understand what, like, you know, knowing, like Damon said yesterday, knowing his kid at 14, right, could make it to the next level. But those are things like inherent traits from someone that's played at a high level that can see certain things. You know, like I played minor league baseball. My kid's hitting the ball at 12 years old at like 85 mile an hour exit velo. It's like, hey, he's got a real shot. So does that training, does that specialization really need to come in at that level? Or is it just a matter of let's be a well-rounded athlete, focus on loving the game.
Well, that
versus
see that's an individual
job.
Okay, let's not absolve ourselves of individual responsibility, right? I'm speaking.
Right.
So part of that you have to own as somebody that's in a position of leadership and guiding young people, right? Like you don't just turn kids over to themselves. They have people in their life that are supposed to be looking out for their best interests. So it's not some blanket statement. It's a general rule of thumb. So you get to decide, hey, listen, my kiddo's pretty good. I know he's going to have those skills. I want him to focus on, let's say what you said, hey, the love of the game, the autonomy, the self-appreciation. Those are things that you have to help him with. You don't turn those over to other people.
No, 100% agree, but I think it does too often.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. And that's the part I think, that's why people feel kind of jaded about money. Yeah, I get it. That's how ill will starts. Because we want other people to do jobs that we should really be doing ourselves.
No, thanks, guys. I just figured I'd chime in.
No, we appreciate the call.
I appreciate it, Brett.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up good points, and I know there's a lot of good points to be made on both sides.
They're salient.
All right, we need to get to the six-pack next, so we will do that.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Time now for the Sports Six-Pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
Man, all that talk about John Moran had me settling on one thing during the break, and it's the 3 L's. And I guarantee you probably said it before. Listen, learn, lead.
Yeah, I like that. I haven't really heard it in that. Yeah, I like that, though. I mean, I struggle a little bit with the lead part because sometimes, this is going to sound weird, sometimes being a good leader is understanding when to follow. Not everybody can lead.
Okay.
Leaders need good followers, too, right? So the leading thing is a little ambiguous, but I'm not going to split hairs, right? Like, I'm team 3L.
3L. Shane, I won't take any L's in this segment. Let's do the 6-pack.
We'll see.
Question number 1.
After having to decommit from Michigan, I know DB never wants to have to think, let alone talk about this guy again, but where do you expect Caleb Love to go now? Is there potential for him to return to
Go back to Carolina.
UNC?
I don't think he goes back.
No, he won't. I don't think, but because they have a fantastic recruiting class. That doesn't mean Hubert Davis can coach him worth the lick.
I also don't think he's going to Missouri or St. Louis for that matter. I don't think he's going back home because he had that opportunity already, and he chose not to go there. So why would he make like Mizzou become second?
I wish I knew what happened But I will say
So
this.
I believe it was his credits didn't transfer.
Yeah.
Well, that they said. Maybe.
Right.
Maybe more than that.
Because you usually do your homework earlier than what just happened. So, okay.
But they were losing a lot at Michigan, so maybe they just said, hey, we're going to chance it.
I'm kind of concerned that something is wrong with Michigan's culture.
Or maybe something's wrong with Caleb Love.
No, there's no question. Right? Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't.
He wasn't himself this past year. That's kind of what we were getting at.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know what the stories are
Right.
out there. But
where does he go? I know a lot of people were saying Indiana. I'm going to say he goes to KU.
Wow, with Hunter?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be something?
I mean, he's going to want to win. He played for a winning program at UNC. He wants to find a way to win. And as much as I like Mizzou in regards to basketball, like they're losing Kobe.
There's part of me that thinks he goes back to the ACC.
What are your thoughts on Louisville? Or
Louisville?
What were they?
Louisville?
What were they? 4-28 last year?
I don't know. I think their staff is better than the numbers. They had to clean house. I don't think he wants to lose. He does not strike.
And that's why I thought
he needs a strong culture.
That's why I thought KU.
In my opinion, I don't know. I'll say the ACC.
Question number 2.
Sorry, I was thirsty.
Go.
This has been bugging me, and it really has been ever since Doc Rivers fired yesterday, because I am a Doc Rivers guy, about the 76ers. Why did good coaches in the NBA get fired?
Relationships.
No.
It bugs me too, though. I really don't understand coach firings outside of that. But then I raised the point. I don't know if it was. This week or last.
Doc earned the right to be fired before he was.
Well,
Just like Budenholzer.
Well,
see this.
No, I'm like. I mean, you got to kind of really follow it, but I don't think many NBA people would argue with me over that.
But that's why I raised the point last week. I think it was when I asked, how much do coaches insert themselves?
And who did we talk
on
to?
teams?
Was that
Rashad?
Where he was like, it's more about relationship. It's managing. It's managing people.
I think that's exactly what it was too. But I will
and
say
apparently
this.
he can't manage hard.
Yeah.
I mean, why did Sloan leave Utah? Because he couldn't get along with Darren Williams.
What bugs me is that the stats scream, why did you get fired? But in the same light, if we're talking about, hey, how much do coaches actually do, which they may do a lot more than I'm giving them credit for, and I'm sure they do. But 154-82 in 3 seasons, they had 54 victories this year. Is that on Doc Rivers, or is that on the MVP Joel Embiid and James Harden sort of kind of revitalizing his career? Like, who's that more on? So that's what bugs me the most, is that stats are skewed when it comes to coaches, because what did we see? 3 coaches that just won championships get fired. It was Nurse, Vogel, and Budenholzer. Am I right when I say those 3?
Yeah.
So even though they have good stats and championships in recent years, maybe the stats are just skewed. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I take it. Good enough for your boy. Close enough for government work.
Go ahead, Shane.
Question number 4.
3.
Oh, sorry, I had to hit the timer too, so we'll just go with 3. Which one of the 3 proposed formats for the Big Ten schedule is your preferred choice for the future schedules? We got 446 and rolling.
Wait, read that again?
Which one of the 3 proposed formats for the Big Ten schedule is your preferred choice for future schedules? Do you like Schedule A, B, or C?
I liked the Project 3 model. Was that when they had 3 teams that they played every year?
Yeah.
I like that because I think that change wouldn't be as drastic in regards to changing the totality of the schedule based on the other ones proposed. And rivalries would still be there. You'd still play, the 3 teams that you want to play every year, especially in Nebraska. What do you think in Wisconsin? You're thinking Iowa.
Yeah,
you're thinking Minnesota.
I'm in. Gosh, I want to say something different, but I'm not going to, just for the sake of being different.
I think rivalries are important to that decision, so I'm going to go with 3.
I'll take C as well.
Nice. I'm going to have my real beer now.
Question number 4.
You can collectively come up with this, but this question comes up on the heels of Sam Greasel being featured in a movie. If you were casting a movie about a radio show, who would play each person?
How about the radio show?
The radio
So
show.
who would play Shane? Who would play DB?
Gotcha.
Who would play me? Who would play Shane? Let's start with him. Who would play Shane if we were casting a movie on the radio show?
Tom Cruise.
I was thinking The Rock.
The dude that played in
Jackass.
Game of Thrones. Dinklage. Peter Dinklage.
Yes.
What, the little guy, the elf guy?
Same. You can't say that. Elves aren't even real people.
The little guy?
They made a movie about elves?
Dude just said elves. You can't. That's what got what's his buckets whooped in the elf because he kept referring to him by a name that you're not supposed to call him.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, he was an author, and Will Ferrell kept calling him. He said, "You call me that one more time." Yeah, I'd go with Peter Dinklage. Is his name Peter?
He's old though, isn't he?
You don't look like any spring chicken yourself.
I've been told I look like I'm in my late 20s.
You'd be The Rock.
No, I want to be Michael B. Jordan.
Little serious, can be funny. B. Jordan could work too.
I like Michael B. Jordan.
Shane, Michael B. Jordan or The Rock?
I don't look like The Rock.
I'm not looking for looks. I'm just looking for like personalities.
How about Denzel?
He could be. Ooh, Denzel. That's a good one.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I like Denzel for you.
Yeah,
good change.
I want Denzel to officiate my funeral. Preside.
I want Morgan Freeman to do mine.
Because of his voice?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like Denzel's depth.
I'll only be listening when I'm dead.
You never know. You might be omniscient by then.
All right, who would play me?
The dude in Meet the Robinsons.
I'm a cartoon with the rest of the crew. What is this? What is this, Space Jam?
No. Hey,
Best
hang on.
moment of the day right there.
Oh, Dave Franco.
Yeah.
You're Dave Franco. Dave Franco's paying.
We're going with looks.
Well, and Mary Kate and Ashley gave the thumbs up.
Okay, Dave Franco.
Dave Franco from The Neighbors.
Denzel Washington, and Shane's
Tom
Santa's
Cruise.
helper. Okay.
Question number 5.
That's just wrong.
Would you rather bet Rupe Heinz to win the Conn Smythe or Carter Verhaeghe to lead the series in goals?
I'm going to take Verhaeghe. That's tough.
Rupe is what, like 4th on the
Yeah.
Conn Smythe list? Who's Eichel? Is Eichel the favorite right now?
Because they're going the furthest. Potentially.
I'll go with Verhaeghe too. I think that's a little bit safer, and you don't have to worry about too much fluctuation there. You want to save the last question for when we come out of the break, Shane?
It looks a little much. I probably couldn't get that in 20 seconds.
Well, it takes you 20 just to read a sentence.
Well, that's what happens.
All right, so here's what we'll do. We'll do this question
At-
after the break, and then we'll do the PGA Championship picks.
All right, I'm ready.
Shane, you good? You're wearing your ping hat again.
Nah, I'm just being short.
Ping these things in your mouth.
Right there. All right, I'm tailor-made for that.
That's cute. I told you peaked last week.
You're just an entitlement, I'm telling you.
No, I'm top flight.
Oh, okay.
We'll be back.
Okay.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back, Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, as we wind this thing down on a Thursday. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, Shane Schillerberg. We have one last question to get to on the Sports Six Pack, and then we will give you our picks for the PGA Championship, which I'm sure will turn into another breakfast bet, because we are all about breakfast balls on this show. So, Shane, let's go to question number 6, and then we'll get into the picks.
Question number 6.
Nebraska doesn't have to worry too much about this weekend, but another team in town playing for a sport in the Big East tournament does. Who would you rather be? Creighton playing UConn, a game up, Georgetown playing Xavier, a game down, or Villanova facing Seton Hall, 2 games back from 4th?
Positionally, I would still rather be Creighton.
Now, wait a minute. Start over with the first part, because I'm not even sure that was accurate. Read that again, Shane.
Says Nebraska doesn't have to worry too much about playing this weekend, but another team in town playing for.
Well, they do actually, depending on their seed.
Well,
but
seeding,
okay.
I guess making the tournament.
Okay.
So it's Creighton against UConn, Xavier and Georgetown, and Seton Hall, Villanova. Creighton, you'd still rather be, because baseball is one of those sports where you can steal one game, whether you're playing the best team in your conference or not.
I take Creighton,
and I'll always take a game up. You probably feel okay if you're Georgetown, but still Xavier's a very good team, and Villanova has to sweep
in order to, and then hope that Creighton doesn't win one and that Georgetown doesn't win any.
Yeah.
So best position, I'd go with Creighton. Thank you, Shane.
You're welcome. We kind of max flight that one, didn't we?
Yeah, you can Callaway all the way home.
I can't read that.
Shane, Andrew, DB. I'm going to randomize the list.
I can't read.
Ready? I just hit randomize. No, we can't do that. It just stayed in order. We redoing it?
No. What are you doing over there? What?
All right, Shane, Andrew, DB. That's how it's going. So Shane, you get the first pick this time, which I guess is.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Rom.
Well, he's going with his guy again.
Yep, my guy.
Hey, Shane, why are you going with Rom?
Because
he's your guy.
He's my guy, and he's coming off the, being the last major winner. So, and that doesn't usually translate very well, but I think if anybody can do that, John can do it.
Okay,
and we'll have to see.
So we're doing two favorites and a long shot. What is considered a long shot again, DB? What
I
are the
would
odds?
say more than.
Should we do more than 4,000?
I was going to say 3,800, so that's close enough.
Well, so the reason I say 4,000 is Jordan Spieth is plus 4,000.
Take it,
but that is still in like the top.
Enjoy that.
Is that 20? Top 20 of the golfers listed.
Yeah, let's go 5,000 or greater. 4,000 or greater. That's fine
for a long shot.
Because I just watched who's the bald guy with the other angry bald guy? Wilbon. No, Kornheiser yesterday take the top two faves versus the field.
No, thank you. I'll take the field.
And
in golf, I'll take the field.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Yeah, so let's 4,000.
I needed 5 favorites in hockey to feel comfortable.
4,000 is a lot in golf.
Give me Brooks Koepka. Shows up at PGA events, playing really well after the Masters. We talked a little bit about him with Brad Klein yesterday. I like the way he's playing. He hits it far off the tee. That's what you need. And I'm going to stick with the guy that's getting hot at the right time. Now, Brad was right, though. Can he last?
Are you writing
Can he
these
last?
down?
Yeah, I'll write
So
them down
Shane
right
took
now.
Rom. You're going with Brooks. And I get
You
to
get
go,
2 picks.
I get to go back to back.
Yep.
Give me Xander Schauffele.
Dang you.
And Tony Finau.
Shane, Andrew, DB. Shane went Rom. Brooks. I like Schauffele a lot. His approach shots right now are probably the best.
And he's sneaky
best
long
in the tournament.
Sneaky long too.
And that was another thing that Brad had talked about.
He could get hot with the putter. Give me Schauffele and Finau.
Xander and Finau. You've been on Finau.
I know, and I balked the last time, but he's going to come through for me this weekend.
Okay. I'm thinking. Do I just go with the guy? How is Rory plus 1,200? Like, are we really trying to buy into Rory right now?
I don't know. When you're that talented, I think you always gotta.
So there's a few. There's a few that I like here. I mean, I feel like I'm given Scheffler on a silver platter.
Too much is given,
but I
much
like
is
Cantley
expected.
a lot too.
Patty?
I'm liking the way that he's been playing. I could ride Hovland and Young again like I did during the Masters.
Do you think Patrick prefers Pat, or does he go by Patrick?
I bet he prefers Packy. I believe that is how you pronounce the Cardinals relief pitcher, Packy Naughton. Real name, Patrick. Okay. I'm going to go with Cantley.
Okay.
Cantley's been the best player in the field over the past 3 months. Look at this. Strokes gain metric ranks 3rd on the tour this season in tour driving. Hits the ball off the tee. I'm going with Patrick Cantley, which leaves Shane to do exactly what your boy, was it Wilbon? Do you want to do it, Shane?
Do I get 2 in a row here?
You get 2 in a row.
We're taking 3 or 2?
3, because we get a long shot.
Oh, that's right.
But I have to go plus 4,000 on the second.
No. You don't have to go plus anything until you're after your 3rd pick.
You get this pick.
Yeah.
And then we're doing the long shot.
Yep. So you get these 2 and they don't have to be long shots.
Okay.
No, just 1. Are we doing 3 golfers each?
That was my question.
Oh, 3 golfers and a long shot.
No, 2 golfers and a long shot.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. So you already have 2.
Yeah.
I have 2. So Shane gets 1 more because he took a round.
Yeah. And then your long shot.
And then the long shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Tyro Hatton.
This event's been at this course 4 times in the last 40 years.
But it's a new course. Remember that. It was renovated.
It was renovated, but it's been won by an American the last 4 times there.
Shane. Okay.
So I'm definitely going American on this pick. Now, which one do I do? Do I do Scotty or Justin?
Are you doing the Dew? Are you drinking Mountain Dew?
That's why I was wondering if I had 2.
Did you say Justin or Dustin?
Justin.
If you would have said Dustin, I would have laughed.
Which one do I do?
I don't like his back.
You know, Justin's a 2-time winner, like we know, in the last five years for this event. Not necessarily at this one. Actually, I don't know if he won it at this one or not. But all right, I'll just go with Scotty.
That's smart. I would have said we were
between
idiots.
The 3 of us
and we didn't put
nobody
Scotty.
took Scheffler. That would be
detrimental.
I mean, people would look at us like
we're not listening to you guys anymore.
You guys are idiots.
All right, so Shane, Rom, Scotty, Andrew, Brooks, Cantley, DB, Xander, and Finau.
And the nice thing is nobody can have Justin. So
because even though DB got back-to-back picks, because he had to pick 3rd for the favorites, you get to go first for the long shots.
Okay. So this was tough, right? I passed on Hideki the last time, and I was kind of mad at myself, especially after day 1, but that's day 1 things that Hideki does. I have the opportunity to get Flat Bill, which would be fun because I enjoy cheering for him.
Yes, you do.
But I'm going to go with the guy that I've been talking about all week.
Tommy Fleetwood?
Nope.
Have you been listening?
Taylor Gooch?
No, I like Gooch, though. I'm going with Wyndham Clark.
You did bring him up.
Because I've been watching his statistics all week, especially in his last 24 rounds. He avoids bogeys. He's good strokes gained. He's got to stay in the fairway here for me, Wyndham. But I'm going with Wyndham Clark.
That'll be important, staying in the fairway.
I'm going with Wyndham Clark.
What did Klein say?
He's good with
it
strokes
was like
gained.
280 that the fairway was wide, and then it got narrow.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He's my long shot.
A few 3-woods in there, something like that. So plus 4,000 and above, right?
Yep. And Wyndham Clark is down there a ways. What is he? 60? What is he?
He's 80-1, isn't he?
No, I think he's 66-1.
Okay.
66-1. So I skipped a lot of guys. I got Matsuyama, Fleetwood, Fowler, Gooch.
I'm going to say Sam Burns.
Okay.
So Sam is young.
Doesn't have a lot of wins. You're hovering right around the cut line, too, because he's plus 4,500.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Okay.
All right.
Steady play off the tee. What I really like about him is he can bury putts.
God, you know who I thought you were going to say? I thought you were going to go with Max Homa.
That's a close second to a Sam Burns pick.
Yeah, so, and they're kind of right there on the.
They're neck and neck with one another. I'll stay close to the cut line and say Sam Burns just because. Gosh, I feel like that's a safe long shot bet.
Shane, now for clarity's sake, this isn't double or nothing. You still get your meal from the first time, or is this double or nothing?
He wants his meal.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So,
that's totally fine.
All right, Shane.
No, it just means I'm plus 2 right now.
Who's your
after
yeah, because we each have to get you one.
After this weekend, at the least I'll be
you could eat free for a week.
Yeah. Do I go Jordan or Max? That's the question right there.
I don't know.
I mean, I've already got my is Max American? I don't know.
Max Homa?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Okay, I'll go with Max.
All right. So we have Max Homa for Shane. All right, those are the picks. We'll keep you posted as the week goes on into next. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Clear.